Yeah, go ahead, Mahesh.
In the last sentence we said, Manaso Devata Chandramaha. So in Pushpa Suktam also it says, right? Chandrama Manaso Jadaha. Right?
Correct. Chandrama Manaso Jataha. Chaksho Shuryo
Ajayana.
Yeah.
So, Chandrama Manaso Jataha. So, we need to look at the actual meaning of that. And the context also we need to look at it. So, because Jataha means produced. And so here he seems to say Manaso Jataha Chandrama. The Chandrama is produced from the mind, he says. So we need to look at that.
No, but there it refers to the Purusha, right? Like from the Nabi, this came. So every like the Agni and Vayu, everything came from different parts of the body of Purusha.
Correct. So correct. So because he is referring to the Purusha. So yeah. Cosmic person, Purusha.
Yeah.
Therefore, correct. You're right. So therefore, that is why they are connecting the various parts of the body to the Devatas and to the parts of the world. In fact, parts of the universe. And there also they have to make the connection. The Manas and Chandrama connection is there.
Right. That's what I was.
Correct. No, good point. Good point. Yeah, go ahead, Ashutosh.
So here we are talking about Sattva, Rajas, and Tamasic elements, or right properties. So food can also be Rajasic, Tamasic, and Tamasic, right? So,
correct.
But those are more physical properties, right? Those are not really subtle properties. Is that right? How do we differentiate?
Yeah. So there are generally Sattvam will be. See, Sattvam is a subtle aspect. Okay. Sattvam is a quality. Really speaking, it's a quality. Guna. Okay. So, but Annam means food. Annam is physical, correct? Because you see the food.
Correct.
You see the food. So that's physical. And eventually the three gunas in here. The three gunas in here means they manifest in the food. So therefore yeah, the sattva is of course subtle, but it's an attribute. So it's an attribute which is different from the Panchabhutas. Panchabhutas are subtle, Sukshma Panchabhutas. Then we will talk a little later. So after this Sukshma Bhautika Srishti, we are talking about subtle elemental creation, right? Creation of elementals. After that, the next step is going to be Sthula Bhautika. Sthula Bhuta Srishti. So the elements, the gross elements. But the qualities go all the way from the starting to the finish.
Right.
So the qualities generally I have not heard qualities being called subtle or gross. But because see, the guna is sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. Okay, sattva guna. They will never say sukshma guna versus sthula guna. I don't know if you're following or not. The guna is never labeled as sukshma or sthula. The elements can be sthula or sukshma and which have the attributes of sattva rajasthanas. That is a very easy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Elements can be subtle or gross. The gross we see later. And the qualities continue. And so you can say the qualities exist in a subtle element, or the qualities exist in a gross element. That is the way we say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on this follow-up quick question, so if you consider Christianity, then they have like a very clear God element and a very clear uh, demon or evil element, right? Generally, they would speak about that. So tamasic is not really in our culture, not really a negative element, right? Everything tamasic is negative. Is it considered to be like demonic? Do you think so, or like how do we think about tamasic elements? Is it a like a similarity there, or is it completely?
So the question is, tamasic, is tamasic negative? So this is one question we need to talk about. Does
Correct.
tamasic mean negative? Negative, I am assuming you mean negative means something not desirable.
Yeah.
Not desirable. Okay. So yeah, tamasic is something, you can't even say tamasic is not desirable. Because when the body is ready to rest in the night, tamas takes over. Because
Correct.
you can be the greatest researcher, Nobel Prize winner, but the fellow says, I need some rest. So at the time of rest, the mind has to slow down, has to stop, in fact, not just slow down. And so then we want tamas. The tamas is useful. That inertia is useful. So therefore, we can't label tamas as negative. And we say that where the sattva aspect has to be predominant, let the tamas aspect be. Be less, let it not act itself up. So sattvic food, we say sattvic thinking, the sattvic activities, we talk about all that. So, so yeah, tamas does have a sense of negativity, but we don't label it as such. We just try to keep it minimum. So dharma means sattva, right, wrong, right or the wrong is sattva. Wrong actions means tamas. Tamas is predominant. When tamas is predominant, the mind just is unable to see what is right. Unable to see what is right. So deception, aggression, all these things show up. So we say tamas is predominant. So in the West, then your question is even this one. Devil versus God is, there are physical entities. One is God and opposed to God is devil. So they are two parallel realities. So there is a noise coming, and let's see. Let me mute everybody, and then so Ashutosh, you can unmute yourself and see if there's. So that's a different. So there they are two absolute entities.
Correct.
Okay, absolute entities. So for us, we can't have that. Nothing is absolute except Brahma. Brahman is absolute. And Ishvara also, Brahma, Maya Sahita Brahma is Ishvara. So therefore, our idea is completely different. And you can't have parallel realities like God and devil. They're too constant. So in the West, there is a constant conflict. The God-devil conflict is constantly there. So like that, we don't have those kinds of ideas. So no absolute, nothing absolute. And in search of the absolute, we say Brahma, Brahman, Satyam Brahma, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So these ideas of heaven and God and hell and devil and all that, they are very loose. They're all mithya. We will say they're all mithya. We will say they're all mithya. But Christianity won't say they're mithya. They say they're satyam. Look at the difference. Mithya versus satyam. Yeah, let there be a hell, but that hell is mithya. Right. And number one. Number two, that hell is anityam. They say hell is nityam. Nitya means it is there forever. It is always there. And we say that's not possible. Pralaya is there, may be there for a long time, but after some time it has to resolve itself out. So many differences. Many differences. Like that. Good.
For us, Vakshasa are not always wicked. For example, Ravana is a great bhakta, and momentarily went into tamas in the Sita, in the abduction of Sita. So earlier he was a highly sattvic, and it was a temporary for us. Demons are not always demons in our tradition.
Correct. Good point. Good point. So I'm going to mute yourself. Yeah. So that is another reason. So we can't really label somebody and say you are a demon, because everybody, even the demon, has a family. Demoness is there, and there are children and all, and they are loving each other too. So sattva, love is sattva. Therefore, therefore, that's why we say don't judge. Why do we say don't judge people? Because of this reason only. Because there is no absolute. Judgment is an absolute statement. And no absolute statement is true. Other than the state, Tattvamasi, that statement, no absolute statement is true. Brahma Satyam, that is the only absolute statement. Everything else is false. Everything else is mithya. Because there is always, we are a mixture of all attributes. And therefore, there cannot be an absolute statement of so evil. They use the word evil. In West, I found this. He is evil, she is evil, and all they will say. So we don't use those kinds of statements.
Is it also a process of evolution that you move from one end of the spectrum to another?
One end of what spectrum to another? What?
Like the sattva, I mean the properties, right? The sattva, rajas, and tamas. Tamas is more like inertia, right? And rajas is action, and sattva is.
Okay, so you are referring to two ends as what? Which two ends are you referring?
Tamas as the lower end, and sattva as the higher end.
See, the minute you have duality means what? So I, me, I mean I, you, duality. So many things, everything duality. So dark means light. Okay. Big means small must be there. There is no word called big without word called small. Right? Concept of big, it cannot be there without a concept called small. So this dvandva is constantly there. So you cannot have sattva if there is no tamas. You understand this carefully. So sattva is there, means tamas will be there. Otherwise sattva is meaningless. You can say sweet only because there is some other taste that is not sweet. Otherwise the word sweet will be meaningless. Think about it. You think about it. Okay, something to think about. It is a very important topic actually in Vedanta. The word sweet is meaningless unless you have other tastes. Unless you already know other tastes, salty, etc. You must know. Only then sweet makes sense. There's only one taste. And can you even ask the question, is it sweet? You can't.
Only changes can be perceived. I mean, if something is continuously there, you can't even perceive it.
You can't even perceive it. Exactly.
So is it an object of Vedanta study to go beyond all the gunas, right? Even sattva guna can bind you, right? Isn't the object of Vedanta is to go beyond all the gunas?
Yeah, so correct. That is true. No, that is true. So that the question is not that though. So Vedanta says any guna is also mithya. Only mithya can have guna. And so when we see things as mithya, then the clarity comes. Then we can ask what is the reality of this particular sattvam of this tamas, etc., if you ask the reality, then the reality will come down to Brahma. And so, yeah, so that aspect is there.
Brahma is gunatita.
So yeah,
Correct. Brahma is Gunatita.
if you
Only
go
in
beyond the gunas, then it's all. If you go beyond the duality, then it's we don't have these gunas, right? If you go beyond the duality.
So that's why. So I never used the phrase going beyond. So far, I've never used the phrase going beyond. Correct? Did I say any time going beyond? I don't think so. I would have never said it because Swamiji has never said it, and there's a reason for that. So I will ask you the question: did you go beyond the sun in order to in order to appreciate that the earth revolves around the sun? See, the sun is revolving around the earth, correct? Now what we have to do, all of us have to go beyond. Go beyond the sun and beyond the earth. Means we have to travel. Yeah, we have to travel. We have not traveled yet. And we have to go beyond. Only then you can see the earth revolving around the sun. So this going beyond phrase, we need to carefully let go. Let go. It's all cognitive. Remember cognitive. Cognitive means when you say, I have understood that the earth revolves around the sun, you have understood. You have not gone beyond anything. You have understood a fact. You have understood a fact. Correct? So, this is just by the way. This is by the way discussion. Understood a fact. So, you don't have to go beyond anything. You just have to understand the reality. You understand the reality. The minute you understand the earth revolves around the sun, then you can even use the word sunrise, even though you know sun doesn't rise. You can even get up in the morning and say Aditya Hridayam with folded hands to the sun. And as you rise, please bless the world. Please bless all of us. You can say all this. Even though in your mind, you know what? The sun doesn't really rise.
So knowledge is more important than experience? Is knowledge
can you repeat that statement again?
Is knowledge more important than experience? Then experience should not be counted?
Correct. So that is the statement. So the question then is comparing knowledge and experience. Knowledge and experience. So in this example of the earth, of this revolution, the experience common to every human being is the sun revolves around the earth. Anybody who has not studied will not know, will only think the sun is revolving around the earth. Correct? Yeah. So therefore, experience is there. Now, what do you make of this experience? Experience is what? Is something that you perceive through your sense organs. And now you have to make a conclusion. Because data has come. What is the data? The data is that the earth, the sun is taking so many positions during the day. It just goes up like this, and then that's the data you have. Now you have to make a conclusion with that data. Because now two conclusions can be drawn. Two conclusions can be drawn. That only a thinking person can say. One conclusion is sun revolving around the earth. The other conclusion is earth revolving around the sun. What is right? Now you're using the same data to do the analysis, and then the analysts, we don't use the word analysts for them. The astronomers and all the people from the past centuries have analyzed that and said, hey, this is different. The sun is in the center, the earth revolves around the sun. Now, when you make that statement and you understand it, yes, it's knowledge. You have understood knowledge. Now, if you say, is the experience important or knowledge important? What will you say to that? I will say this. Your experience was important enough to start this inquiry, this process of inquiry, which led you to make a conclusion that is different from the one that one might make without making the analysis. The world was thinking the sun was revolving around the earth. Because that is called avichara siddhi. There are two kinds. Siddhi means conclusion. One is avichara siddhi. Avichara siddhi means a conclusion born of non-inquiry. Another is called vichara siddhi, a conclusion born of vichara, inquiry. After you do the vichara and you come to a conclusion, oh my goodness, this is amazing. We are going around the sun. The sun doesn't move. If you say that amazement, that conclusion is there, once you concluded it, does your experience change?
Experience is the same, but the knowledge, I mean, like, this is somebody else's knowledge. I definitely, like you said, I didn't go beyond the sun and see it, but the studies have proven that, right? So in a spiritual quest, we use the the Vedas as our praman.
So therefore, we'll say that we won't say knowledge is okay. Knowledge is more important than experience only to the extent that knowledge can point you in a direction different than if you had not thought through your experience. Experience is just data. Experience is a perception of data. That's all it is. And then you make a experience is that the sun is moving with respect to the earth. That is the experience actually. That is all the experience. But your conclusion that the sun revolves around the earth is your own conclusion. That's not an experience. The experience is that the sun and earth move relative to each other. Correct? That is the experience. But we all draw a conclusion that the sun revolves around the earth, and an analysis proves that is wrong. Same way, here also in our Shastram, the experience seems to tell me that I am this body. I am as good as this mind. And so I am a mortal, I am subject to all kinds of problems. That is my experience. That is my conclusion, in fact. It is my experience is what? Everything we experience in terms of frustrations, in terms of disease, in terms of accomplishments, relations, all that is their experience. Now, what are you, Mohini, going to conclude based on this experience? About you, what you're going to conclude? That is the question. I will say I've already concluded, I'm finished, and clock is ticking, and I'm going to be gone. And this is my conclusion. I'm a mortal. I'm a mortal. That's my conclusion. About myself, I mean, about myself. So now, with that being the conclusion, just like the example of earth and sun, there is data. What is the conclusion? Vedanta is a process which takes you from the data to a conclusion which is different than what I would have concluded if I had not gone through that process of analysis. We are not going beyond anything. We are just understanding reality. Swamiji would say, Vedanta is a reality subject. Reality subject. No transcending and going beyond and all that. Reality subject. That's all it is. That is all it is. And that is, maybe we shouldn't say that is all it is, because it's a very important subject, because it talks about ourselves. So it demolishes all my conclusions about myself. Vedanta demolishes all conclusions I have made about myself. Correct? That is, I hope that helps somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but we haven't reached that stage to really accept it. It makes sense. Because the knowledge is different, that you are not the body, you are not your mind, you're not your intellect, you're not your ego. It makes sense, but the experience, we didn't have it. I mean, yeah, logically also you can go on excluding, but the jnana, that knowledge, hasn't solidified, or maybe, you know, like it, I haven't, I know it theoretically.
Correct. Correct.
That was going
Correct.
to be my
Correct. So,
question. I had the same question. How do you
then-
directly perceive these?
so that there is something called Samanya Jnanam, and then there is something called Vishesha Jnanam. Samanya Jnanam is, in general, I understand it. I understand it. Vishesha Jnanam means what? That understanding becomes a part of you. Because no, it's an unshakable appreciation of the reality. And so a beginner student might say, this planetary motion and all studies, and then they understand it, and then they're able to write exams also. But the real appreciation can take some time also, right? The enormity of what the student studied is not apparent until after some time, correct? And so likewise in Vedanta also they say how many karmas, how many janmas we have spent being confused about ourselves. And so the momentum has been there. So they say it will, we are not surprised that it will take some time. We are not surprised. And the key is, are we following or not? And so that's why there is so much mentioned in terms of the karma yoga is there, then dhyana yoga is there, upasana yoga is there. So all these things are there. So now your question will bring all those topics. Well, what is karma yoga? What is jnana yoga? How can I see this better?
Yeah.
How can I make this knowledge my own?
Sadhana that is preventing us from this knowledge?
Can you repeat the question?
Is it the lack of sadhana and pursuing it in the correct way that is preventing us from this knowledge?
So I'll ask you a question. So you live in the US and you come to India, and then you hire a taxi. Which side of the taxi do you go to?
Well, usually the driver is on the right in India, right? So it will be on the.
So you have to make a conscious effort, because you want to go to the passenger side, and you in the US passenger side is on the right side. So you may just go to the right. We just go to the right. Many times it happens to people, and they will go, and then they'll say, "Oh no, that's wrong." So they'll come back and come to the passenger side. So do you know or not? Do you know that this system is different in the US versus India?
Yes.
Yes, I know. Then why are you making a mistake?
Because I wasn't aware at that time, or maybe because I was thinking about something else.
Yeah. So this is what we say. Habitual error is there. It's called habitual error. Habitual error means what? Habitual. You are used to doing a particular thing, and now suddenly you are put in a system where that thinking doesn't work. That thinking won't work. You have to change your thinking. And so, even though you know the facts, those facts don't seem to help you. I'm studying Vedanta, but still my experience is identical. It's the same thing. So then there is a habitual conclusion I have. And so Vedanta suggests something called nididhyasana. So there is Shravanam, there is Mananam, there is nididhyasana. Correct?
Yes.
So yeah, Venkateshanji, you can turn off the video or you can leave, whatever, doesn't matter. So that is the idea. So the idea is that Vedanta acknowledges this. acknowledges it and says, yeah, even after knowing, you still are going to behave as though nothing has happened, as though you have not studied. Why? Because that's been the habitual error that I've been making. That conclusion alone is there, and so that is what stays with me. Then there is nididhyasana. And I have to remind myself. This is where dhyanam comes and nididhyasanam comes, and remind myself that gunatitaha. Aham gunatitaha. Aham gunatitaha.
Learn your habits.
Aham gunatitaha. Aham gunatitaha. So we do this japa. Aham nirvikalpa. Aham nirvikalpa. So like that. So that what that does is, it is like saying the passenger's seat is on the right hand side in India. The passenger's seat is the right hand side in India. Like that. Something like that. Then you can't make a mistake after that. But you can do that only after you understand. You can't do that before. Before understanding, if you keep chanting, I am Brahma, etc., it won't work. Because understanding is not there. If I keep on saying the earth revolves around the sun, eventually I can be brainwashed into thinking earth revolves around the sun. But the real benefit will not come unless I have studied the subject and know very clearly that the earth revolves around the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a tendency to impose this sadhana before studying. So let's just do a japa. And just keep on chanting, soham, 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 soham. Then what happens? Then there is nothing wrong with that. But understand that knowledge is not there. It is a projection on something, on ajnana. So ajnana has to go first. Then the japa will be very powerful and then it will stick. After which you won't need any more japa. Any more reminding yourself is not needed. Because the habitual error has been neutralized. No more habitual error. Which happens if you are there in India, instead of 2 weeks, if you are there for 2 months, then you won't be making a mistake. 3rd week onwards, you are good. What happened in the 3 weeks, 2 weeks? Habitual error got neutralized. Correct? So we say that don't be impatient is what we say. And it takes time, and some people get it and move on. There's one person in the class some years ago, and he said I got it, and he left the class. He stopped attending classes also. And so I mean, I didn't talk to him or anything, and I didn't interview him and all that. I didn't. So I mean, some people can get it. Some people can get it and they're ready and all that. Some people take time, and we don't make any judgments, and so we leave it. We leave it to Ishvara and things, and we are happy that we are making this inquiry.
What happens sometimes is, even if you get it temporarily, that understanding just vanishes the next day. So this is a big problem. And then you have to keep reasoning again, going back to the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dog's tail, which is always like this.
Yeah.
You try to straighten it, and then you say, it's straight, and then you leave it, and then immediately it comes back. So yeah, that can happen. Nothing. It's a common experience, not just your experience. Yeah.
So was it due to the error that pratyaksha pramana? So we always think that experience is always correct. See what I'm saying? So we think that pratyaksha pramana, which experience what we directly see through any sense organs, we think that it is correct. It's not necessary.
Correct. Exactly. So that. How long has that been? How long have we been doing this? Right? Have we been doing this?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time we've been doing it. So it takes a while. They say the ship The ship is going in a direction, and from a long distance they see another ship. And if they are in the same, whatever, moving towards each other, they have to start acting quickly. They say, oh, it's not, we are 1 kilometer apart and all. You can't say, because it takes a while to steer these big ships in a different direction. So you have to. So that momentum is there.
Oh yes.
Momentum. So we are all coming with the momentum. So we need to acknowledge the momentum. That's why we surrender. That's why Sharanagati is so important. When we surrender, then we let that take its course.
Yeah.
And then it will take its course. Knowledge is there. Knowledge is powerful. So it will take its course. Good.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't let it take its course, you just invoke all sorts of negative emotions against it. Like you get hopeless, which actually does more damage than good.
Correct. So we add more problems. Previously we had a list of problems. Now we have more problems. What problem? Oh, I'm studying Vedanta, but I really am not understanding it. That's a big problem. Then I thought I understood it, but I'm forgetting it. That is another problem. So big list. The list now grow. Vedanta is giving you more problems. And then there is always a friend who will come and tell you, didn't I tell you? Different doubt. Didn't I tell you? Swami uses this phrase, didn't I tell you? The deliverance, as though that person knew before. And then you start having doubts also. Oh, is this right? So that's why jnanam. So jnanam, abhaditam jnanam. Unshakable. Nobody can shake knowledge. So, but doubt will be there. The self-doubt can be there. All these are normal experiences. Yeah, normal.